This is an iHeart podcast.
What is your message directly to the American people who may encounter some of this pain and despair? How do you give them hope?
Well, up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain. There could be a great deal of pain, but up till now, there hasn't been. I will say this, just hang in there, because I think a lot of good things are going to happen. That's all I can say. I mean, I think a lot of good things could happen, and that could also pertain to health care.
You're listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson.
Good Tuesday morning. Nice to have you with us on the 47 Morning Update. And this is one of those shows that's very important. And I hope you will share it everywhere you can with family and friends and on social media. This story is one the media is not covering. Instead, they're going to talk about the government shutdown. But this story should scare everyone to their core. And this is the story. Jack Smith and the Biden Department of Justice were tracking the phone calls of their political enemies, specifically 8 GOP senators and a Republican congressman. Yes, they were literally spying on our men and women that are in Washington who've been elected by you and I. And the one thing and the only thing they had in common was that they were all Republicans. But first, I got to ask you a question. Are you one of those that's just so tired of giving your money to radical left, woke companies that actually are fighting against your values every day? Well, there are certain bills that you pay every month that if you can go with a conservative company, why not do it? In fact, why not go with a conservative company that actually takes part of your bill every month that you're going to pay to somebody, and they give it back to organizations that support your First and your Second Amendment rights, that support the rights of unborn children, that stand with our military, our first responders, and so many wounded warriors that need help. Well, that bill I'm talking about is your cell phone bill. And I've been telling you for a long time about Patriot Mobile, but there's no better time to switch than right now. Not only does Patriot Mobile operate on all 3 major networks in this country, all 3, that means you get the same great coverage you're used to right now. But you also make a difference with every call you make and every text you make. And why would you want to give your money to Big Mobile? Big Mobile has been giving big donations to Democratic causes, Democratic candidates, and radical left organizations. I'm talking about organizations that actually support abortion. That is why I want you to switch right now to Patriot Mobile. Go ahead and make the switch, and it's so easy. All you have to do is simply call Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based team from the comfort of your home or your office, and they'll have you activated in minutes. And if you're still locked in a contract, not a problem. Patriot's Mobile contract buyout program covers up to $500 per device. Keep your same number, keep your phone, or upgrade to a new one. So back to my point. What are you waiting for? Call Patriot Mobile today and make a difference every single day with every call you make. PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson. That's PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. And if you use the promo code Ferguson, you're going to get a free month of service on top of that. PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. That's PatriotMobile.com/Ferguson or 972-PATRIOT. It's the 47 Morning Update, and it starts right now.
Story number 1.
This is a story that I'm about to tell you that it's an incredibly important one. It is a fact now that the FBI literally spied on not 1, not 2, not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but 8 GOP senators. It was called a total analysis. That is the terminology that's used by FBI investigators to analyze cellular call data for federal probes. Think of it as link analysis that shows patterns of communication, location data, as well as potential targets network of associates. This should shock every single one of you to a core. And these declassified records, as the FBI Director Kash Patel is now exposing, codename Arctic Frost, was brought because of a whistleblower disclosures to Senator Grassley and Senator Ron Johnson that showed nearly 100 conservative groups, including Turning Point USA, were part of the probe. Now you have something that's even more shocking, and that is not only was the FBI going after conservative groups, but the FBI was spying on senators. And some of those senators are now fighting back. Senator Ron Johnson saying it this way in a statement earlier. I was just briefed by the FBI's Dan Bongino that the FBI and the Justice Department obtained call logs from 8 U.S. senators, including myself. We were surveilled simply for being Republicans. This does not surprise me, but it should shock every American, Senator Johnson continued. What the Biden administration has done is an outrageous abuse of power. It is blatant political persecution. Those responsible must be held fully accountable. Now, you may ask yourself, what is in this actual document? The Federal Bureau of Investigation unclassified document dated 9/27 of 2023 puts it in a simple manner. The FBI special agent, with the name redacted, conducted preliminary toll analysis on limited tolls records associated with the following U.S. senators: Mike Kelly, Lindsey Graham, Bill Haggerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Lummis, and Senator Marsha Blackburn. You look at what I just explained to you, and this is the weaponization, literally, of our federal government right before our eyes. The other question is this: who were the FBI's supervisory special agents, and why are their names redacted? Who approved the report and the surveillance of the U.S. senators is another question that should be asked. Markings indicate that the FBI Washington field office was doing this during the Biden administration. This also means that there was a team involved as well. An FBI SSA manages investigative teams and approves the reports that we now are seeing. Toll analysis, as I mentioned, is used to analyze cellular data and the call details for federal probes. This is a highly revealing investigative tool. It exploits all the patterns of the targets or the people involved in the communication investigation. And it also is incredibly invasive because it would look at the location data of those senators that were being spied on. Now, several of these senators decided to have a press conference that were the targets that were spied on. Senator Grassley was the first to speak, and I want to play it for you. Listen to what they had to say.
We can find for the solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information, but we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. Now, this memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American of what the Biden administration has done. And by the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI. And I'll turn it over to, I guess, Senator Haggerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject or targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which, again, should outrage and shock every American. Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were all surveilled back then by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans. They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today.
What we know is this, that the FBI under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama, that they exercised activity that they had no authority to exercise. And as Senator Haggerty mentioned, we know what they did in 2016 to the Trump transition team. And now we find out that after the Mar-a-Lago raid, after the indictment of President Trump, they surveil us, people who support President Trump, members who are all Republicans. But it shows you how out of control and rotten to the core and politicized the FBI had become, and how they had absolutely no problem at all whatsoever with political weaponization. We appreciate the information we've gotten today. We look forward to further investigation on this.
You just heard from many of those that were targeted by the FBI. As you heard Bill Haggerty say, we are sitting members of Congress. And by the way, we now have learned it's not just senators. There was also a representative that had their private communications tracked by the former special counsel Jack Smith under the Biden administration. The FBI director Kash Patel also revealing. Files obtained by Fox News show that Smith, in his official capacity at the Department of Justice as he investigated Donald Trump and the events of January 6, 2021, decided to not only track the phone calls of Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, Cynthia Lummis, Bill Haggerty, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, but also we now have learned Republican Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. The alarming document revealing that Smith and his Arctic Frost team had subpoenaed telephone providers for the lawmakers' records in 2023 was recently discovered by Patel. Patel confirmed the legitimacy of the findings in an ex-post, writing, "We recently uncovered proof that phone records of U.S. lawmakers were seized for political purposes. That abuse of power ends now. Under my leadership, the FBI will deliver truth and accountability and never again be weaponized against the American people. That abuse of power ends now." It seems to be the mantra, unfortunately, that is needed by this administration to make sure that these bad actors are exposed and rooted out. Finally, you also heard one other thing that was really important that was mentioned there. We need whistleblowers. You heard that from Senator Johnson. He is asking for others to come forward that may know about abuse of power that was happening in the deep state and letting them know there's a safe place to bring it. Bongino, we also know, briefed the impacted lawmakers on Monday afternoon and said that it is a disgrace that he's having to sit there and show what he has found. It is a disgrace that I have to stand on Capitol Hill and reveal this, that the FBI was once weaponized to track the private communications of U.S. lawmakers for political purposes. That era is over. Several of the senators who have allegedly been spied on not only spoke at the press conference which you just heard, but said that they are also going to be looking into this from a congressional standpoint. And to put it just in overall perspective for you, Senator Hawley called Smith's actions not only an abuse of power beyond Watergate, beyond J. Edgar Hoover, one that directly strikes, he said, at the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the First Amendment. And thank goodness that President Donald Trump has put great men in charge of the FBI to root out this pure evil that is inside of it.
Thank you for listening to the 47 Morning Update with Ben Ferguson. Please make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. And for more in-depth news, also subscribe to the Ben Ferguson Podcast, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
This is an iHeart podcast.